Alabama's ice cream law. In Mobile, Alabama, it's completely illegal to walk around with an ice cream cone in your back pocket. Now, while that is surprising enough, it is more surprising that this law was actually made because of horses. Back in the 1800s, horse theft was a massive problem in Alabama, just like in many other parts of the American South. A decent horse could cost several months' wages, making them prime targets for thieves. And these criminals got pretty creative with their stealing methods. Their best trick was to put ice cream cones in their back pockets and walk past horses. Apparently, horses love sweet treats, so they would follow the thieves on sighting the ice cream cones in their pockets. At the time, horse theft was a serious crime that could get you thrown in jail or even hanged in some states. But proving intent to steal was crucial for prosecution. So if a horse simply followed someone down the street, that wasn't technically theft. This made the state declare carrying ice cream cones in the back pocket illegal. It's fascinating how this law has endured, while many other outdated laws have been repealed. Most cities regularly update their legal codes, removing outdated laws that no longer serve a purpose. But somehow, Mobile's ice cream cone law stuck around. In fact, no one in Mobile has been arrested for carrying ice cream in their pockets in the last 100 years. Yes, horse thieves still exist in modern times, but they're definitely not walking around with melting ice cream in their pockets anymore. Today, Mobile's ice cream cone law serves as a great reminder of a different time in American history, when horses were as valuable as cars are today, and thieves used ice cream as bait. But besides that, it adds a touch of humor to the tough legal system. The Blue Laws. Another strange law exists in Rhode Island, New York, where stores cannot sell toothpaste and toothbrushes in the same transaction on Sundays. While this may sound absurd, and it is, this law is linked to Blue Laws, which originated in England and were implemented in colonial America to regulate what could and couldn't be sold on Sundays. Blue Laws emerged in the 1600s, when religious beliefs significantly shaped daily life in colonial America. Sundays were strictly designated for rest and worship, making any non-essential purchases considered sinful. Over time, various towns and states developed their own specific rules regarding Sunday shopping. For example, Rhode Island implemented more specific restrictions. While personal hygiene items could be purchased on Sundays, buying a complete set of anything was prohibited. The intention behind this law was to encourage people to plan ahead and purchase their full sets on other days of the week, making toothbrushes and toothpaste a no-go together. Of course, some people found ways to circumvent the law by making two separate purchases. They would buy the toothbrush first, exit the store, and then return to buy the toothpaste. The truly surprising part is that this law has persisted long after many other blue laws were repealed. While you can now purchase alcohol, cars, and nearly anything else on Sundays in Rhode Island, the bizarre toothbrush toothpaste rule remains technically on the books. Fortunately, no modern store enforces it, as doing so would likely cause significant annoyance. The law was so strict that during that time, store clerks in Rhode Island had to memorize extensive lists of what could and couldn't be sold together on Sundays. This was a real headache, especially since the rules often lacked logical consistency. Today, this law serves primarily as a reminder of how much times have changed. While it's technically still illegal, it has become one of those forgotten rules collecting dust in Rhode Island's law books. Greased pig contests. In Minnesota, it's illegal to organize or participate in any games or contests that involve catching a greased pig. And no, this wasn't some random law that somebody came up with for fun. It actually came about because these events were pretty common at fairs and rural festivals back in the day. Imagine an event where organizers would take a live pig, cover it in grease or oil, release it into an enclosed area, and watch as people tried to catch it. And then, the first person to successfully grab and hold on to the slippery pig would win a prize. Sounds pretty wild, right? Well, exciting as it was, there was a huge problem. The contests were incredibly stressful for the pigs. They'd be chased around by multiple people, roughly handled, and sometimes even injured in the process. Plus, the grease or oil used wasn't exactly good for their skin or overall health. Soon, animal welfare advocates began speaking up about how cruel these events were. They pointed out that pigs are actually pretty intelligent animals and can experience fear and distress just like dogs or cats. So the idea of terrorizing an animal for entertainment started to seem less funny and more problematic to a lot of people. Interestingly, Minnesota wasn't alone in banning these events. Several other states passed similar laws, recognizing that while tradition is important, some old-time entertainment practices need to be left in the past. And while the law specifically mentions pigs, it's actually part of a broader set of regulations aimed at preventing animal cruelty at fairs and public events. Also, the fine print of the law is pretty specific. It's not just about catching greased pigs. It's also illegal to organize such an event, promote it, or collect admission fees for it. The lawmakers wanted to make sure they covered all the bases to prevent people from finding loopholes. But the people decided to get creative. Some fair organizers tried to keep the tradition alive by replacing real pigs with greased watermelons or rubber pigs, creating a similar challenge without involving actual animals. This makes this modified version perfectly legal, as it still pops up at some summer festivals today. The great thing is, unlike other old-time regulations, this law remains actively enforced, and if someone tried to organize a greased pig contest today, they could face real penalties. Making ugly faces at a dog. Yes, you could face serious penalties for making an ugly face at a dog in Oklahoma. You might be wondering how the law defines an ugly face, and that's a valid question that remains unanswered. What's even more intriguing is the story behind this bizarre law. According to records, the law was established following a specific incident in which someone was attacked by a dog they had been taunting. The individual made aggressive faces at the dog, causing it to feel threatened and ultimately leading to the attack. Rather than charging individuals under general animal harassment laws, Oklahoma opted to specify facial expressions in the legislation. The truth is, dogs are quite skilled at reading human faces, a talent they've honed over thousands of years of cohabitation with us. They can distinguish between a friendly smile and a threatening grimace. When someone makes aggressive facial expressions at a dog, they're essentially communicating a threat in dog language. It's akin to yelling at them, but without uttering a word. The law raises some peculiar questions. For instance, what if you naturally have a grumpy face? What if you're eating something sour and can't help but make a strange expression? Or what if you sneeze? The law doesn't address any of these scenarios, making enforcement quite challenging. Speaking of enforcement, there are no documented cases of anyone being arrested for making ugly faces at a dog in recent history. However, the law isn't merely gathering dust. It falls under Oklahoma's animal welfare statutes, meaning it's technically part of active legislation. Also, police officers in Oklahoma probably have better things to do than monitor people's facial expressions around dogs. And the penalties for breaking this law aren't specified in the statute, which adds another layer of confusion. But what makes this law particularly unique is that it's one of the few regulations anywhere in the world that tries to legislate facial expressions. Most animal harassment laws focus on physical actions like hitting, throwing things, or aggressively approaching. But Oklahoma took it a step further by including face making in their legal code. Kentucky's ice cream cone restriction. In Kentucky, it's illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your pocket while inside any public building. While this may sound similar to Alabama's law, Kentucky has taken it a step further by extending the restriction to all public spaces. Like its Alabama counterpart, this law dates back to the 1800s, when horse theft was a serious crime. Kentucky is renowned for its horses, and thieves often got creative to evade strict penalties. Using food to lure horses away became a common tactic, with ice cream cones apparently being a favorite tool of the trade. Kentucky took horse protection seriously. Back then, a good horse could cost as much as a year's wages, and the state's reputation for fine horses made them particularly valuable. In response, lawmakers got clever. They didn't just ban carrying ice cream in your pocket outdoors where horses might be present. They also banned it in public buildings, preventing thieves from claiming they were merely carrying their dessert and happened to walk past some horses. This law effectively closed a potential loophole before thieves could even attempt to exploit it. What's most surprising is that this law is still technically in effect. While you're unlikely to be arrested for carrying pocket ice cream today, it has never been officially removed from the books. It serves as a reminder of a time when horse theft was such a serious concern that lawmakers felt the need to regulate where people could keep their frozen treats. That's a wrap on the weirdest laws in the United States. Which one do you find most shocking? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you soon!